Jayam. Namaskaram to all viewers of JyothirMaarg. Dear viewers, in the last episode, we had discussed the birth of the 5 Pandava princes, while Maharaja Pandu, along with his 2 wives, Kunti and Madri, were living at the Shadashringa mountain ranges of the Himalayas. Now, let's continue. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tado jayamudirayed harihi om. During this period, at Hasthinapur, 100 sons and 1 daughter were born to King Dhritarashtra's wife Gandhari. Now, we will go into the details of the birth of these Kaurava princes and their one sister. Earlier once, Rishi Vedavyasa was very much pleased by Gandhari's hospitality that he had blessed her with a boon that she will be the mother of 100 sons. Thereafter, both Gandhari at the Kuru Palace in Hasthinapur and Kunti at the Shadashringa mountain ranges conceived almost around the same time. When Yudhishthira was born to Kunti, Gandhari had completed 1 year of her pregnancy. 1 more year went by and Gandhari was still carrying. Then she heard the news that Kunti has given birth to a brilliant son like Suryadeva. Gandhari was already weary and impatient due to her prolonged pregnancy. Added to that, like pouring ghee into fire, the news of Kunti's delivery made her to do what was not to be done. When she was alone in her chamber, in her desperation and anger, Gandhari repeatedly hit hard on her stomach in a violent manner. Thereupon, a large and hard lump of flesh came out of her womb. Seeing everything in his divine vision, that very instant Rishi Vedavyasa appeared in front of her and asked Gandhari what she has done and why she has done like that. Gandhari told Vyasa that she had been carrying this heavy lump for 2 years, and when she heard that a very radiant son has been born to Kunti, she couldn't bear it any longer. And that in her anger and desperation, she had hit very hard on her stomach again and again. Gandhari also reminded Rishi Vedavyasa about the boon he had given her for being the mother of 100 sons and said that this is what has happened now. Vyasa told her that no matter what she has done, his words will never be in vain, and that she will still be the mother of 100 sons. Then, as advised by Vyasa, 100 pots of pure ghee were brought to a room which was in a very safe and secluded spot in the palace. There, after washing and cleaning it, Vyasa sprinkled holy water on that lump of flesh. At the touch of the holy water, the lump broke down into several pieces. All those pieces were of the same size, the size of the thumb. Thereafter, those pieces were carefully deposited into the ghee in those pots. While Vyasa was watching this work being done by an attendant maid, Gandhari was thinking how happy she would have been if she could beget a daughter also over and above those 100 sons. After putting those pieces into 100 pots, Vyasa saw that there was an extra piece. Then pointing at those pots, he spoke to Gandhari like this: "O Gandhari, here are your 100 sons. Beyond them, you will also have a very beautiful daughter for whom you are praying right now." Vyasa then got 1 more pot filled with ghee, into which he put that last piece and then got them all closed properly. Thereafter, before leaving her, Vyasa told Gandhari about the care to be taken and also the exact number of days after which those pots are to be opened. Accordingly, when the waiting period was over, Duryodhan and his 99 brothers were born, and then finally, as the last one, a daughter by name Dushala was also born. Incidentally, Duryodhan at the Hasthinapur palace and Bhima in the Shadashringa mountain ranges were both born on the same day. Among the sons of Pandu and Dhritarashtra, the firstborn and the eldest was Panduputra Yudhishthira. When Duryodhan was born, he cried and brayed like a donkey. Several donkeys, jackals, and vultures then responded to his braying. Strong and violent winds started blowing, and there were fires at several places in all 4 directions. Listening to all those sounds, which were felt like ill omens, a frightened King Dhritarashtra immediately summoned Bhishma, Vidura, and other learned Brahmins and well-wishers. Dhritarashtra then spoke like this: By virtue of his birth, the firstborn among all the princes, Yudhishthira, the eldest son of Pandu, without doubt will acquire and rule this kingdom. But I want to hear from you. After Yudhishthira, will this son of mine become the king? You are all great scholars who can see into the future. Do tell me the truth. The moment King Dhritarashtra asked this question to those who were assembled there, sounds made by female jackals and carnivorous animals were heard from all directions. Listening to these inauspicious animal sounds and the sudden change in their nature, those learned men and Vidura spoke like this: O king, this son born to you now will be the cause of destruction, leading to the end of your race. He will destroy all those who are with him and around him, as also he will lead this kingdom into a great battle and massacre. If you wish to escape from these disasters and misfortunes, abandon him now. You will still have 99 sons, which is more than enough for you. It is said that for the benefit and welfare of a family, one member of that family can be cast off or abandoned. Similarly, for a village, a family can be abandoned. And for the country, a village, and for one's own soul, the earth itself can be abandoned. Even though Vidura and the scholars had given him right and truthful advice, out of his blind affection for his firstborn son, Dhritarashtra was not ready to follow their advice. After Duryodhan, within a period of 1 month, all his brothers, and as the last one, their sister Dushala, were born to Dhritarashtra. During the prolonged pregnancy period of Gandhari, Dhritarashtra begot an offspring in a female attendant maid. The son born to Dhritarashtra in that Vaishya woman grew up to be a very valiant hero of great wisdom and intelligence. Unlike the Kaurava princes, he always treaded the path of dharma. His name was Yuyulsu. The Kaurava princes at Hasthinapur and the Pandava princes at Shatashranga mountains grew up like clusters of lotus flowers. Now let us return to the Pandavas at Shatashranga. Pandu lived the happiest days of his life with his 5 sons and 2 wives in the valleys and mountain slopes overlooking the emerald forests of the Himalayas. Then the Vasant Ritu, that is the spring season, had arrived. The forests were in full bloom, with colorful and fragrant wildflowers, enchanting creeper plants full of flowers, and trees with variety of ripe and tasty fruits. Sweetly singing birds feasting on those fruits, and humming bees drinking the nectar from the wild flowers, and ponds filled with lotus flowers, and swans swimming with all their grace and charm gave that forest a very romantic setting and overview. Then, on that decisive day, Maharaja Pandu was dwelling those beautiful forests accompanied by his wife Madri. The romantic beauty of the forest, mixed with the music of the singing birds and the fragrance of the wild flowers, made King Pandu forget everything. In short, the time had come for the curse of Rishi Kindama to take place. Madri's celestial beauty attracted the king to her like a magnet. Crying aloud, Madri tried her best to stop the king, but nothing could stop him because it was time for his earlier karma to get equalized. There in that forest, at a moment of ecstasy, Maharaja Pandu died lying in the hands of his wife. Madri cried aloud in great sorrow and agony at her husband's death. Kunti and the children heard Madri's cries and they came running. Seeing them coming, Madri shouted to Kunti not to bring the children with her. Seeing her dead husband lying in the forest along with Madri, Kunti also cried aloud and asked Madri how she could have allowed it to happen. Madri replied that in spite of all her objections also, she couldn't stop the king. Kunti then told Madri that she should take care of their children, as Kunti will now follow the king to the world of the dead. But Madri reasoned that she will not be able to treat Kunti's children as her own, but Kunti, being more matured and balanced, should live and take care of the children. Accordingly, Madri jumped into the funeral pyre when it was in full blaze and followed her husband to the netherworld. Like that, Maharaja Pandu, who could have lived and ruled for several more decades as the scion of the Kuru dynasty, died in the forest because of his wrong karma of killing a rishi and his wife at a wrong time. Thereafter, the great rishis and siddhas of Shatasringa decided that they should all travel to Hasthinapur along with Kundi and the 5 children and should hand them over to Bhishma, Dhritarashtra and Vidura and place them under their care and protection. Without waste of time, they all started their journey along with Kundi and the 5 Pandava princes. They also carried with them the bones and ashes of Pandu and Madri in separate pots. Finally, after a very long journey, they all reached the main gate of the palace at Hasthinapur and waited there. Seeing thousands of rishis and siddhas and charanas, all glowing with celestial radiance, the soldiers on duty at the gate ran to the palace and informed about their arrival. Meanwhile, the news about the arrival of such large number of godlike rishis spread like wildfire. And then the citizens of the Kuru kingdom started pouring in from far and wide also to get a glimpse of those divine sages. They all assembled there at the palace gates and waited in silence with utmost respect. On hearing this news, Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, Vidura, Satyavati, Ambika and Ambaliga and the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra hurriedly came to the entrance gate and paid respectful salutations to those godly saints and with their permission sat on the ground in front of them. Thereafter, they offered water to wash their feet and gave them arkhya, which is the traditional food offered to the rishis. And then Bhishma dedicated the Kuru kingdom at their feet and respectfully waited for them to speak. Then the oldest among those rishis, radiant like the sun, spoke out like this. You all know the rightful king of the Kurus, Maharaja Pandu, had retired to the forest. Along with his queens, he accepted an ascetic way of life and lived as a brahmachari with us in the Shatasringa mountains. During that time, he begot the son Yudhishthira from none other than the god of justice, Yamadharma. Then that illustrious king obtained a second son, this mighty and strong Bhima, from Vayudeva. Same way, after observing severe penances, this Arjun was begotten by Indra in Kunti. The expertise of Arjun in archery will humble all the bowmen of this world. And finally, Pandu gained these 2 most handsome twin sons from the Ashwini Devas in Madri. You may all be well pleased and satisfied about the divine birth, Vedic studies, and expertise in weapons and warfare of these Pandava princes. Leaving behind Kunti and these children, Pandu, who lived adhering to virtuousness, has left for his heavenly abode 17 days back from today, and his wife Madri ascended his funeral pyre and accompanied him to that world of blessed souls. Now, here are the remnants, meaning the ashes and the bones of Pandu and Madri. You may now do the after-death rites which will elevate them to their rightful places in the netherworld. Pandu has always upheld the dignity of the Kurus. So now, you may observe the after-death rites for Pandu and Madri, and once that is completed properly, you may accept and receive Kundi and these 5 princes with all due respects and honors to which they are rightfully eligible, and then take care of them with all their royal rights and privileges. So saying, those godlike rishis, siddhas and charanas rose to the skies and disappeared from their sight. Thereafter, Dhritarashtra entrusted Vidura to make arrangements for the funeral and related karma befitting that lion among kings and his queen Madri. The remnants of the king and the queen were taken in a procession to a sacred spot accompanied by Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, Vidura, Satyavati, Ambika and Ambaliga and Kunti and the Pandava and Kaurava princes and others of the royalty. The citizens of Hasthinapur also took part in that procession as if it were the death of their own family member. All of them in the procession were weeping, thinking about that king who was so dear to each and every one of them. After the cremation, they spent the next 12 days there sleeping on the ground. Thereafter, on completion of all rites and rituals, there was a great feast for everyone and unlimited wealth was donated. Earlier, Pandu had brought in great wealth after his Digvijaya. Now, similar wealth of cows, gold, grains and cereals, and clothes and garments and land was distributed and donated to everyone who came forward to receive them. Like that, after completing all those traditional and religious rituals, they all took bath in the river and cleansed and purified themselves. Thereafter, on the 13th day, they all returned to their homes. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet harihi om. Dear viewers, if you feel good about the summarized rendering of Rishi Vedavyasa's timeless epic Mahabharata, please like this video and write your comments also. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please subscribe now. Thank you.